And welcome back. This is the last tutorial in our mini series when talking about relative positioning, fixed positioning, absolute positioning, and static positioning using the WIDI library, specifically the set position scheme, and we've also been using set margin. This last example is the fixed position or fixed positioning. Let's go ahead and look at the final product of what it looks like on the page. As you can see, this is nothing but displaying the words hello world, or I should say hello witty, in the browser. And as you can see, look on the right hand side of the page, you have a fixed widget. And notice when we scroll up and down, it's staying fixed on the page. That is essentially what a widget that has its set position scheme set to fixed does. It's fixed on the page at the position that you specify, and even if you move the browser window, of course you can't see it here, but when you move the browser window, it stays fixed. And to give you another example, if you go to the Web Toolkit homepage, you notice they also have a widget that is fixed onto the web page. Now the example that I have is real simple. It's not as sophisticated as that, but it is essentially the same concept. So let's go ahead and start looking at code. What we have here is our basic template. No changes have been made, and we won't make any changes to this. We won't need to get rid of this label. What we're going to do is add our header, which is our WIDI text. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add a box that is of type WIDI text. We're going to call it box 1. And we're going to give it some styling. And we're going to call this fixed widget. And I'm going to add some styling. Just going to make the text color, and we could also do this in WIDI itself, but I'm just trying to do this to make it real quick. But there's essentially our widget onto the page, and we're going to add it to our application root. And then that should finish that off. Now we're going to add some styling. So we're going to say box 1 set position scheme fix, and that's how easy it is. Basically, that's really all you need. Once you do that, the element is fixed onto the page. But we're going to set up some additional properties here. We're going to call set margin. And this is going to be a little bit different from what we've been doing. We're going to make it 90. We're going to move it 90% from the start of the page over to the left. So that goes over 90% of our page. And we're going to set this to WIDI length. And we're going to move it down 42% from the top. And this is just for my particular situation. You have to make sure that it's set according to how your browser and how the screen is, the resolution on your screen would be. And I would suggest to test this in multiple browsers, multiple operating systems. Me personally, I have a Windows and a Mac machine, so I would have to definitely make changes based on, those environments. And the last thing we're going to do is use the decoration style object, and we're going to set the background color to blue. Okay, and we actually do need to do one more thing. We haven't done this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize the browser window. if you want to change the size of the window or any widget, and we've done that a couple of times. Let's just say you want a default value for the width. You can either do W length auto, which will keep it at the default length or the default width, or you can just call the width length by itself, and then I want to change the height to 768 pixels, and that should just resize the height, which is what we're really after, to at least 768 pixels. You can make it more or less depending on your browser and depending on your operating system. So if I go ahead and do a compile, and I have my server running, I close the server. Hopefully this works the way I want it to. And if I run it, I do a refresh, nothing should change, and that's exactly what you need. So basically all we did was we created another widget, set some styling to it, gave it some text. We set the position scheme to fixed, and we just moved it over. Moved it 90% of the page to the left. As you can see here, it would be from here to over here, and then we moved it 42% of the page. And of course, this would be different, of course, depending on your browser. And we just moved it over, or moved it down from the top, and it would take up at least 42% of the page. And if we just moved it up and down, you see it's fixed onto the web browser itself. So that is essentially the end of this tutorial for positions, the set position scheme for now, and for using set margin. And we might come across this again later on in other tutorials, but that's it for using set position scheme and set margin. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.